you found me, Kinder Duo. Hopefully there's more of you out there. I have to tell you, I was having a little bit of anxiety switching over accounts because there is not that many of you who found me over here yet. So hopefully you guys have found me over on my new account. Hi there. So if you've made it over here, yay, I'm so glad. If not, share this with anyone out there that you think might not know where I am now, or anyone who might be might benefit from having whole class participation and engagement. So I'm Andrea Schindler from Whole Brain Teaching, Whole Brain Teachers United. Hi, Coach. Good to see you. I meet here every week, and we're just talking about, I started out this year, scoping is a new thing for me. Yes, thank you. Melissa Ortuno, who is our techie person, has helped to set this account up so that, that's okay, it's cool, you're still cool. Melissa helped to set this account up so that now my scopes will be caught on catch. So I'm new at all this technology, but this way, if you miss it, you can see the rebroadcast, or you can always catch it again on catch. So all new stuff to me. We started out this year doing these scopes once a week, and we've been talking about different topics. And something that kept getting brought up over and over again is, how do you get all your kids to participate? So we have been going week by week, little by little, talking about whole class participation. So give me some, can you share the link on your Facebook? That would have been a great idea. I probably should have done that today. For those of you who don't know that, thank you, Kinder Duo. Yes, I will do that. Those of you who don't know, I have a Whole Brain Teaching Kindergarten certification page. Even if you're not interested in certification, it's a good place to go. There's a lot of resources in the notes, and you can also ask me questions there. So Coach says more hearts, so let's get those hearts going out there. I'm basically building a brand new account from scratch, which I don't really know what that means, but I just know we're starting over, guys, and that's okay, because we are gonna get this account up and going. Can you do a levels review for those who are new? I absolutely can. We're gonna get started with that. Like I said, we've been just coming week by week talking about how to get your kids to participate. And we've talked about many things. We started out talking about the whole brain teaching pattern, where we start with the class yes, then we go to the mirror words, we go to the teach okay, and then back to our scoreboard, and how we continue that pattern all throughout the day. Then we talked about how we make the scoreboard a game. Since this is one of the big tools that we're using for motivation in our classroom, we really want to make sure that we understand that we want to make it a game. And we talked about how we want to make it fun. That's one of the best things about whole brain teaching, is it weaves that wonderful thread of funtricity in everything we do. So instead of it being a tool that's being used to punish or being used as a negative piece in our classroom, instead we're gonna call it our scoreboard game. And that was something that I really, really overemphasized this year. I've always used it as hi there, Towel Girl. Yes, new account, I'm here. Anyway, this is something I've always done. The scoreboard has always been a game, but this year, literally, I am making sure that I constantly say, let's check on our scoreboard game, that I'm re-saying it to the kids so that they understand it's a game, and I think it helps me to be able to hear it. So we've been going through the levels, and we talked about how when with kids, when they're playing video games, is a game that teaches anything you want. Absolutely. We can use our scoreboard to teach anything and everything. If we're working on academics, if we're working on behaviors, that's what our scoreboard is used for. Anything we want to hone in on in our class, it could be a routine we're honing in on. Maybe we're working on lines for that day. Maybe we're working on the teach okay for that day. Maybe we're working on the triple whammy sentence for that day. That's the best part about the scoreboard game, is it's very flexible. We can use it for overall behaviors, but we can also use it to hone in on skills. And one of those important things out there, guys, I don't want to forget this, is we talk about, yes, it's the train of your classroom. It keeps it going. We use it all day long, and it's that engine that keeps us going. One of the things that we talked about is when we're talking about the skills that we're working on every week, it's really good for us to break it down into small pieces, guys. Give me some hearts out there if you've ever been frustrated because you've used some of these strategies and you use them and you use them and you use them, and then all of a sudden they lose their luster. Guys, sometimes saying that we're working on the class yes today, sometimes that's way too big. Sometimes we're just going to tell the kids, we're going to work on the class yes, but specifically we're working on stopping what we're doing when you hear me say class yes. So all day today, I'm going to watch that you stop what you're doing. And then maybe the next day, it's going to be this time for the class yes, I'm going to watch that you stop what you're doing and you look at your teacher with laser eyes. Guys, one of the biggest things we have to do is really break down what we're teaching our students into little bitty pieces. And I'm telling you, if you practice those routines and you go over those little tiny pieces, it's going to pay off in the end. So our game for our scoreboard is always thinking, looking, and acting 2 grade levels higher than we are. So I teach kindergarten, and so 2 grade levels higher for me is 2nd grade. Now, those of you who what do you have for, I'm going to show you, I'm hiding it from you. Those of you who have been here with me since the beginning may have remembered the power cards. So I'm just going to show you this really quick to remind you about these awesome power cards. Do not worry if you were not here for power cards. That's okay. It's cool, but I do want to show you this little handy power card here because we talk about our X powers. X powers is thinking, looking, and acting 2 grade levels higher, but we also have our lightning power on the back, and that's thinking, looking, and acting 4 grade levels higher. So we're either working at a 2nd grade level or a 4th grade level, which is pretty awesome. The X power, the gesture we do for that is we just say X power, huh? And then I ask the kids, what's your X power? Thinking, looking, and acting like and they say 2nd grader. So for you, it would be 2 grade levels higher. When I show them this side of the card, this is our lightning power. I say, show me your lightning power. And they say, zzz, 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 lightning power, huh? And what is lightning power? Lightning power is thinking, looking, and acting like a 4th grader. And this card is something I flip throughout the day when I either want my X powers or I want to incorporate my lightning power. Now I'm going to go do a big review for you guys for what we've done with the scoreboard, and then we're going to talk about level 4, but you're going to want to stay tuned because I got something else for you that's a little back pocket strategy. So these levels are, you can find this online at the Whole Brain Teaching website. You can also find it in the book that Chris Biffle has written, 122 Amazing Games, but we're always adding tweaks and changing things and adding to it. And one of the things that we always say is that there's no whole brain teaching police. So that means you can take this, you can add levels of your own, you can get creative with it, guys. And so I'm going to be sharing some of the levels that I've used this year that Coach and I worked on together that are not in the book, as well as some of the tweaks. So today we're going to be working on level 4, and then I'm going to give you a little tweak that we worked on today. So let me go over the levels with you for our big review. Level 1 is just simply smileys versus frownies. So that's really easy. Can't wait to get, I know, right? Smileys versus saddies. So remember, when you get a point on the smiley side, it's a 1 second party, looks like this. Oh yeah. And then on the saddie side, we do the shoulders up in the air and we say, oh. Now, what are we working for there? Just bragging rights. How do we do in our scoreboard game today? If we have more smileys than saddies, then we were thinking, looking, and acting 2 grade levels higher. If we have more frowny points, then we were not looking, thinking, and acting 2 grade levels higher. So that's what we're always aspiring to do, is 2 grade levels higher. At least sometimes we're going 4 grade levels higher. So each time your class gets a win, and that's more smileys than saddies, remember, we're going to get a star on the bottom of our scoreboard. Now, while we've been here together, I showed you guys a little celebration for the star, so I'll show you again. I make the star on the board, and while I'm making that star, the kids do a 10-second drum roll. It sounds like this. And then when I lift my hands, they lift their hands, and I point at them, and they get to say, oh yeah. So it would look like this. If I was giving them a star, I'd say 10-second drum roll. I write my star. I lift up my hands. They lift up their hands. And why? Because this is a great time to do a dramatic pause. They pause and we wait. Guys, anything we can do to make it fun. So a lot of times I'll lift up my hands and I'll turn like to look at them, and they think they're waiting on the edge of their seat. They can't wait to do the mighty oh yeah. It's all these little things that get them having fun, and they love it. So 10-second drum roll. I lift my hands, they lift their hands, and I point at them, and then they get to say oh yeah. Now remember, a silent dance party, even better. We love silent dance parties. So there's our 10-second drum roll. Now we've been talking about how 10 stars can move you up to the next level. However, when you get to boys versus girls, you know that those levels are a little bit harder to move up. Also, we got the first word from Coach B that he's got a bunch of back pocket levels coming our way, plus other levels I want to share with you. So we've talked about the fact that we are now going to make it a little bit easier to move up levels and make it 5 stars to move up to the next level. The best part about doing that is they're going to move up faster, and it's going to make them that much more eager to find out what is going to be at that next level. So awesome. We actually just barely started. Oh wait, we actually are on a higher level than that, but we're almost to the blue marker. So I was ready to tell you we actually almost started the blue level, but I popped in some new levels in between. So I can't wait to talk to you about those levels. Okay. So then level 2 is boys versus girls. And remember, with boys versus girls, the only thing we're doing there is bragging rights. So they have the right to brag and say, oh, the boys won today and the girls won, or the girls won today. Or sometimes there's no win if there's more saddy points than smiley points. This was something really big we talked about a lot. We talked about the fact that how you get a class win is both boys and girls. Let's see, what are some of your rewards used for winning the scoreboard? Extra minutes of recess. Let me tell you, we haven't even gotten to the extra minutes of recess yet, but that is one that you could do, and you could add a level to do the plus minus minutes to recess. All we did for boys, for the smiley versus saddy, was just the right to brag about, oh, we were thinking, looking, and acting like second graders today. Level 2, all the reward is, boys versus girls, is just bragging rights. So we're not even talking about recess minutes out there, guys. Guys, I'm going to slow down here and come in close. Remember, it's a long year. You want to milk out those rewards. If you're giving out extra recess points at the beginning of the year, we had to learn this the hard way, right, Coach? We had to learn this the hard way. If we're giving it out at the beginning of the year, we're going to have to give extra recesses by the end of the year. Yes, start small. Exactly. We've had to learn this, guys. One thing I have to tell you about whole brain teaching, you want to stick around. I've been doing this with Coach for 14 years now, and let me tell you, we learn as we go. In the old days, we just had one scoreboard, and it was just plus minus minutes to recess or plus minus minutes to plus minus pages for homework. And we learned, guess what? It's a long year, and they need to have different rewards milked out all year. And what were we, Coach, if you're still out there, what were we thinking giving away extra minutes of recess at the beginning of the year? We've learned so much. So, oh, I'm glad. You know, some of those videos, I don't watch those videos very often, but I go to conferences, and a lot of times people, they don't even recognize who I am. Maybe dark hair or longer hair. I don't know. Anyway, I don't watch them. So hopefully they're helping some of you out there. It's hard for me to watch myself on this scope. So anyway, here we go. We're moving on. So level 3 is boys versus girls, and with this boys versus girls, the winner is going to line up first. I'm so glad they're helpful. That's why I keep doing it. It's one of those things. I was not born to be a superstar, guys. This is not like, I'm not going to be big on the screen if I can help it, but I do like making the videos to help people. So hopefully just getting a little sneak peek in the classroom helps out a little bit. So level 3 is boys versus girls, but the winner gets to line up first. And remember, we talked last week about how important it is, thank you so much, how important it is that we go over rules about how do we line up. If we're not lining up right, then the other team could always pass us up. My kids vote on activities each morning, for example, Pajama Bay. I love that. I think that's awesome because then they get to have a piece of what is our reward that we're going for. I love that. And I love the creativity too. And you're bringing back fun in the classroom, which is awesome. Oops, we do a lot of oops, girls, boys go first. And they love that because they get to sneak ahead. So over here, let's see, with the super improvers, you can do something with that. And if you stay tuned in the next couple weeks, I have some really fun things that we've been doing this year that are directly linked from our scoreboard to the Super Improver wall. So with boys versus girls, we just want to really make sure you guys understand that a class win means both the boys and the girls had more smiley points than saddy points. Once both boys and girls have more smiley points than saddy points, that's a class win, and the kids get their first star. So now we're moving up to level 4. Level 4 is our blue marker level. And let me tell you the genius about this. It's really nothing big. All it is it's a different color marker, guys. So these Sharpie markers out here, that's all it is, just a different color marker. But what does it mean? Blue marker points mean double. Now, this may not sound like anything that exciting, but let me tell you, when you're in the midst of a day where you've got kids who are really close on the scoreboard, and you have someone who gets, a team who gets the first blue point, let me tell you, there's some excitement. You can't really see my blue point up there, but let me show you, okay? Because let me tell you, that blue point, I hope you could see it there, that blue point is worth double. So that doesn't mean just one single point, that means double. So level 4 blue marker is our double doozy marker. Now guys, it doesn't just end there. This is how I've been using the blue marker. Coach and I talked about the fact that there are times in our day, and give me hearts out there, where our kids are the squirreliest. And I'm sure for you guys, the beginning of my day starts out really, really great, and then we have lunch, and then by the time we come back from lunch, we are super either overtired or we are restless, and we are just not on our A game. So hearts out there if that happens to you. So let me tell you, that is when I really bring in this blue marker. I use the blue marker. You guys can use your blue marker all day long if you choose to. But I tend to save my blue marker for that last part of the day. At the last part of the day, I tell the kids, yep, right after lunch, let me tell you, midday slump, I hear you guys. And it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to bring this energy alive in here? And I can't wait to show you something we're using to do that. But it is what's in the food. I'm telling you, it puts them to sleep. And we don't have nap time anymore in kindergarten, guys. So I don't know what we're going to do out there for that, because they can't be sleeping. We got to get them up, and we got to get them alive, and we got to get them awake. So we use our blue marker during that point of the day. I tell the kids, okay, it's blue marker time. That means anything I write with the blue marker means double. And let me tell you, they get really excited for blue marker time. Guys, here's the best part about our kids. Hype it up, okay? Tell them, oh, it's blue marker time. I mean, you could do a silent party for your blue marker time. When they know you're getting ready to pull out that blue marker, they know that they could get some double doozies. Now, here's the thing about a double doozy. You never know, is it going on the smiley side or is it going on the saddy side? You definitely don't want to get it going on the saddy side. The other thing about blue marker that's great, or these little expo markers, is squeaky markers. I don't know if you guys can hear that out there. But let me tell you, the dramatic pause works very well. When you walk over and you pull out your blue marker and you open it up very, very slowly with that squeaky marker sound, all of the kids are sitting there eating it out of your hand. They can't wait to see which team is going to get the blue marker. They can't wait to see, is it going to be a smiley or is it going to be a saddy? Yes, especially for focus lessons. Guys, when you need the most attention from them and you're looking for that maximum engagement and you need to bring them up a lift, it's blue marker time. I had someone out there who asked me, do we use this just for, is it for whole class or is it boys versus girls? You can use it for both. If both teams are doing well and they're bumping up the level of participation and the level of engagement, then you can give them a double doozy on for boys and girls. If not, then you're going to do them competing against each other. Which team is going to do better than the other team? And speaking of teams, I got to tell you guys, in case anyone out there saw me last week, we were talking about with the boys versus girls how we've been doing the huddle up in my class. And the kids are huddling up and they're coming up with their individual goals for themselves, and then they come up with a team goal. And I'll just recap that for you in case you weren't here last week. But we talked about how with boys versus girls, Instead of it being me just giving the goals, because remember guys, we're always going to write on the board whatever skill we're looking for. So if we're looking for gestures, if we're listening for triple whammies, if we're looking for capitals at the beginning, to continue the line up with the blue marker. Do I continue the lineup? Meaning the winner gets to line up first? Yes, you do continue that. Yes. So winner lines up first, still continues with blue marker. Good question. Okay, so with the boys versus girls, what we've been doing is, the huddle up. So I say huddle up, the kids say huddle up, they all get together, boys are all together, girls are all together, and then they share with each other individual goals of what they're going to work on for that day, and then they get together and they come up with a team goal. So again, remember, should you wait until you change levels to start blue marker double points? Yes, the blue marker double points is level 4. So if you can get your kids to level 4, try to get them there. There's ways to get them there, guys. Help boost them up. Give them a couple more wins this week because this blue marker is pretty fantastic. So on our scoreboard, we talk about how we write the skills we're looking for. So if it was skills here, I might say skills. And what I'm looking for the day, maybe, here we go, isn't that a big huddle? I'll tell you in just a second. Skills. So maybe I'm looking for big gestures. So this is what Ms. Schindler is going to be focusing on. And you know what? My kids have been in school for a while, so we're going to look for 2 skills. I'm going to look for a behavior, and I'm going to look for an academic. So I am now looking that they're going to use an adder in their sentence. And for those of you who don't know what an adder is, definitely you want to look up whole brain teaching writing and oral writing, because an adder is a detail that you add to the previous sentence. So here we go. Maybe my academic is going to be big gestures, and then, my behavioral is big gestures, and my academic is the adder. So these are things I'm looking for from the boys and the girls, and whichever team does a great job with it is going to get a point. If you're doing a really fantastic job, you just might get a double doozy blue marker point. With the huddle, someone asked, isn't it a big huddle? Yeah, I got 25 kids. So yes, and actually this year, which is odd because a lot of times I'm heavily weighted one way or the other. Like most years I have more boys than I do girls. This year it's a little bit more boys, but it's still pretty even. So you can also do, if you have a classroom that is super boy heavy, maybe you have like 18 boys and then you only have 3 girls, you may have to do left side of the room, right side of the room. You can split them up by color rows, or however you choose to do it, just to split them in half if you can't do boys versus girls. But I say huddle up, they say huddle up, huddle up, huddle up. They get together. So then I have a group of girls together in a huddle, and I have a group of boys together in a huddle. Let me tell you guys, just the workup of getting them out to their huddle is its own task, because they have to be able to stand up and get into that huddle without climbing over each other or doing anything crazy. It's magic right now though, guys. We've been doing this for a couple weeks now. I say huddle up and it's like magic. They are all together in their little huddles. So it's pretty exciting. But we practice that, guys. And remember, we're gonna practice little bitty tiny steps. I said this last week. When I say stand up, we're just gonna practice standing up and looking towards our huddle. Then standing up, moving towards our huddle. Then standing up, moving towards our huddle, and sitting down in our huddle. And I know that sounds crazy, guys, but if you're having stuff with management and routines, really, really breaking it down and having them practice each little step a couple times and then adding another step is going to really make things go so much better in your classroom. So in their little huddles, each kid is coming around. It's totally kindergarten. But you know what? I hear from teachers in upper grades that say, my kids are doing the same thing. So it's definitely in kinder, but I think sometimes kinder carries up. So I don't know if any of you out there have a higher grade than kindergarten and you experience the same thing. But I'm telling you, even the big ones can handle breaking it down. Sometimes I think with the bigger ones, we just assume that they should be able to do it. And guys, guess what? They really can't. I have a friend who teaches middle school who tells me all the time they're just big kindergartners. So anyway, they're together in their huddle. They're each sharing their personal goal. And we practice stand up, sit down 5 times. Yes, and you could do it right way, wrong way. What's the right way to stand up? What's the wrong way to stand up? Show me the right way, show me the wrong way. Too fast, too slow, things like that. And let me tell you, it makes it fun for them. So they're there together in their huddle. They're coming up with, yes, buy-in is so important. They're coming up with and that's even in the lower grades. I got to tell you, there are kindergartners, and I'm sure my kindergarten friends out there can say this, that even the kindergartners, I'm thinking you're 5. How could you not be excited about these things? But some of those kindergartners are tough. Like, you really have to get them wanting this stuff. So they get together, they're in their huddle, each kid is sharing out what their personal goal is, and then the team comes up with the goal together. Whatever their team goal is what I'm gonna look for the day. Now the reward, as I said last week, for all of them being able to get together in their huddle and share their personal goals and their team goals by the end of the time period is they get to come up with their cheer. For the goals, how are they picking how many marks they want to make? No, it's not how many marks they want to make. So for example, today, let me look at my board. The boys decided they wanted to work on following, hi there. Oh, my parent conferences are coming up too. For today, my boys, I'm looking at my actual scoreboard over there. The boys said that they were working on following directions quickly. So at the bottom of theirs, I wrote follow directions quickly. The girls were looking at doing listening bodies. So they wanted, and they keep picking that one. I think they have a couple that have a hard time with listening bodies. But today, they were more specific. They said crisscross, applesauce, and their hands folded in their lap. So this is what I'm looking for. And anytime I see them working on their goal, I'll give them points on their smiley side. So that gives me extra things to look for. The other thing is, yes, kids creating their own behavior goals. I love it, and they have so much more buy-in. Here's the thing, guys. I can say simple reminders like, oh, keep your eye on the goal, and all of a sudden, the girls, I said today, I had to say it to a couple of them, hey, keep your eye on the goal, and all of a sudden, they're sitting up with their listening bodies because they know that that's their goal. Same thing with the boys. One of them's not listening and following directions. Keep your eye on the goal. Remember to fix your eyes on the goal. And what do? Then they're following the directions quickly. So the reward for coming up with their group goal and coming up with the goal for their team, is that they get to come up with their own cheer. So last week I shared with you that the girls came up with cheer, cheer, but the boys hadn't quite made it there. So let me tell you, I love these boys, and so I just have to share this with you because every day, I mean, they're so, so close. So these boys have now made it all the way up to, they're all sharing their goals. They're coming up with the team goal. They're not fighting about who's going first, okay? Today, they made it to making up their own cheer, guys. Give me hearts out there if you're excited for that. The boys finally made it to making their own cheer, and they decided, I have no idea why this is the cheer, but their cheer is, the chant is, Ghost Boys. Is it the cheer for who wins at the end of the day? No. When I give them a 1-second party, so when I give the girls a 1-second party, they say cheer, cheer, instead of oh yeah. And the boys had to keep saying oh yeah because they couldn't get to the point where they came up with their own goals and stopped fighting about who would go first to share their goals. So if you weren't with me last week, we were talking about how they were having a hard time deciding who would start talking first in their circle, who would share first, and they were all yelling over each other and fighting. And I talked to you guys about how it's really tempting as a teacher and as an adult to want to jump in and say, hey guys, knock it off. Why don't you start here and solve their problem for them? And I encourage you guys, don't solve their problems for them. It's been painful the last week or so, couple weeks while we've been doing this, but I take a step back and I just rest assured every day they're getting a little bit better. Every day they're coming together a little bit faster. Every day they might fight a little at first, and each day it's lessened because I'm not the one solving the problem for them. They're solving their own problems. So every time they get a smiley point, they get to say whatever their special cheer is. When it's a class point, it sounds really cool because the girls are saying cheer, cheer, and the boys are saying oh yeah. So we just have two different cheers going on. I will do that. I will record the kids doing that. That's a great idea. So today the boys made up their cheer. Their cheer is Ghost Boys. I'm not really sure. Sorry I had to go out. How long is the huddle? Just a couple minutes. We don't keep it going very long, maybe about 2 minutes tops. And you guys really can gauge it by how squirrely they're getting. Or do a Periscope of it. I'll have to think about that maybe. Okay. So the boys made it. Their cheer is Ghost Boys. I don't know what that means, but when they win, they want to say Ghost Boys. But guys, they still didn't make it to the end of doing their whole cheer because they couldn't agree on a gesture. The girls did cheer, cheer. The boys can't decide if they're doing Ghost Boys or have a couple of them going Ghost Boys. They can't decide on the gesture. So stay tuned next week. These boys might finally have their cheer. They've had to go back to the default Mighty Oh Yeah. We'll see how they do, these Ghost Boys. So this is a little route. I know. They're so, and each day I'm like, oh my gosh, guys, you're so close. So do you offer any prompting to help solve problems? All I say to them is, how are you going to solve that problem? How are you going to solve that problem? What is your problem? How are you going to solve that problem? It's hard because I really want to tell them, okay, knock it off, but I don't. I haven't. So going back, these are our levels that we talked about. Level 1, boys versus, or smileys versus saddies. Level 2, boys versus girls bragging rights. No, I don't give any suggestions. I have them decide. I have them talk to me, but I have them talk to me. What is the problem that you're having? And they'll say, well, we can't take turns, and he wants to go first, and he won't let me go. Okay, how are you going to solve that? And what do I do with the bossy ones? It's the same thing. I have a couple boys in that group, which is interesting because normally I don't have any little bossy Bettys. My girls are all doing this really easy, and typically I find it's the girls who are super bossy. But man, I got some really strong-willed boys in this group who just really dominate in the group. And so I just keep coming back to them and saying, well, how are you going to solve that? Well, he keeps talking over everybody. Well, how can you solve that? Because you don't have a cheer yet. Here's what's crazy is those bossy ones who seem to be the loudest and kept saying, I'm going first, I'm going first, I'm going first. After it's been about 2 weeks now, guys, they haven't even made it to making their cheer. They really, really want that cheer. So that bossy one is backing off on his own. Now, if I was to say to him, hey, maybe if you'd let someone else have the turn first and stop talking so much, you know, the thought bubble that might be in my brain. I'm not saying that that's really there, but maybe it might be in my brain. Like, maybe you shouldn't be so bossy. He probably would go in one ear and out the other. But he's had to figure out on his own that taking over the group is not helping the group to move along. And so he's actually naturally started backing off on his own. It's kind of a miracle. It's pretty awesome. And they aren't being ugly to your bossy one. Well, they get frustrated. They're saying, he keeps going first, he keeps going first. And so I just kept, it was painful, guys, but I kept coming back to them and saying, how are you going to solve that problem? If that person keeps going first, like you're saying, how can you solve it? Because you're not all able to take turns. And I just kept putting it back on them. So I hope that helps. That's just what I've been doing, and it seems to be working because they're getting all together now, although today they were fighting over their gestures, so, and they couldn't agree. So moving back, we're on, I'll go back to that one. Going over to boys versus girls bragging rights. Then we go to boys versus girls winner lines up first. And then here we're on level 4 blue marker. Remember, we're using these as a double doozy, so every point that I make on either side is going to be worth double. So I've got my back pocket strategy over here, and I feel like I kind of talked way too much, but I do want to show you over. Oh, thank you. Hey, I'm just in the trenches with you guys, and let me tell you, there is no way, I don't know. Every year it's like, oh, there's something new, and they have something new that you have to figure out. So we're always trying something new over here. But over here, I'm going to show you. Oh, I'm so glad. Keep tuning in, because that's one of the best things about whole brain teaching. I'm still learning about whole brain teaching. How do you handle the tally not being even? So, for example, let me go back to that. I'm going to give you a sneak peek over here. Check that out. I hope it's not backwards on your side. It's backwards on my side. Okay, back over here. You're talking about how do you handle if the tally is not even? So meaning that if there's a couple scenarios that can happen here. If the boys have more smileys than saddies and the girls have more smileys than saddies, then that's a class win. If either group has more saddies than smileys, I'm really trying to stay away from you. Oh, don't say that. Just stick around, Caitlin. I had my first years of doing this too. Trust me, coach was in my classroom helping me. I was very lucky, but and even now, there's always something new. If there's more saddies than smileys, then it's not a class win. But how do you, if the tallies are not even over here, then whoever has the most points on the smiley side is going to be the winner. So if the boys have more smileys than the girls, then they're the winner. If the girls have more smileys than the boys, then they're the winner. So I hope that helps. So I'm going to take you over here to our gesture-o-meter. But you still keep the scores within a 3 difference tally. Yes, we have a rule. It's plus minus 3. So you never want to have the difference on either side more than 3 on either side. So you don't want to have more than 3 on the smiley side or more than 3 on the saddy side. So do a couple ping pongs to even up if you notice that your difference is too wide. And why? If you reward too much, they're going to get lazy and they're not going to work hard for you. And if you punish too much, they're just going to give up. So over here I have, and I wish I knew the time. I hate to go too long, you guys. I have this wonderful device that we use in conferences. We've used something called the volumeometer, which is how we can control the volume in our classroom. So a volumeometer, I'll just draw one for you really quick over here, would look like this. So what we're going to have here at the bottom of the volumeometer is no voices, and then we might have low voices. Then we might have regular voices, and then maybe up here we have loud voices. And what you do with the kids is you have them say something simple like yada, 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 and you move them up and down the volumeometer with their voices. So my hand moves like this, and their voices go with me. So it may sound like this. There's no voice here. And then it might be yada, 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 yada. And that's how you can set the volume in your classroom. I got to tell you, that was really handy. I had some teachers, one of my first years of teaching, who did a walkthrough in my classroom, and they said whole brain teaching is fantastic, but we work in a school where all the classrooms, it's just one big room, and they just have dividers up. I can't even imagine that. And they all teach in the same place. So the only thing that separates them from the teacher next door is some office cubicle divider things. And I did the volumeometer on the board. We were doing the Crazy Professor reading game. If you haven't played that, check it out, wholebrainteaching.com. I went to the volumeometer, I brought their voices down to whispering, and they were doing the same strategies with the same amount of energy and all their big gestures, just with the whisper voice. So that's our volumeometer. So over here we have our gesture-o-meter. So this is what we're doing with the gesture-o-meter. Today's goal that I had with the students was their gestures. Because here's the thing, guys. Oh, and I'm about to drop you guys. Sorry about that. The kids, as the day goes on, their gestures are getting limpier and limpier, and they're falling to the ground. Give me some hearts out there if you guys are limping till the end of the day. So here's our gesture-o-meter. We talk about what kind of gestures, what kind of X power gestures, that's 2 grade levels higher, and they practice in the morning doing their X power gestures. Then we do lightning power, which is even bigger and stretching even higher. Well, this gesture meter made it just a little bit more exact. So let me show you over here. Here's the gesture meter. So down here we have no gestures. Then right here I wrote preschool gestures, because remember, we're always either working on thinking, looking, and acting 2 grade levels higher. But if we're not, and we're 2 grade levels lower, for us that would be preschool. That's about as far low as we can get. So I asked the kids, okay, if this is no gestures and this is preschool gestures, what would preschool gestures be? What would the gestures, what size would the gestures be? And they talked about it, and they showed it to me, and they said they would be really little gestures. So I wrote that very little. So then I said, okay, so yeah, they're little limpy bodies. We're limping to the end of the day. So, and if you guys have not seen this on my Whole Brain Teaching certification page, I have a little demonstration of our morning routine when we count up our points, and when they show me 2nd grade bodies, and when they show me their preschool bodies. And when they show me their preschool bodies, they're pretty hilarious. They're like little limping, lifeless little like floppy bodies all over the place, which is pretty standard for how they look when they come in at the beginning of the year, and they try to fall back into that all year long. So from there, we have our second grade gestures. So what are our second grade gestures kindergarten gestures. Give me an at school. Kindergarten gestures, I asked the kids, and they said, the kids said, well, they're going to be bigger gestures. And I said, well, but what's your second grade gestures? Well, second grade gestures are big gestures. Okay, well then kindergarten gestures can't be big gestures. What would a kindergarten gesture be? It's not going to be little. And so they decided, and I wrote down what they said, they decided it would be medium gestures, okay? So then on our gesture meter, I am just practicing with them, going from no gestures to preschool, then back down to no, then back up to preschool, then back down to no, then back up to preschool, then up to kinder. Sorry, I'm trying to look at the screen and do this. I should be looking at my finger. Then up to kinder, then down to preschool, then up to kinder, then down to preschool, then no. So what does that look like? So they're sitting in their seats and they're doing no gestures, and then I move my hand up the meter and I get to the preschool, and they're doing little tiny things like this, and then they show me kinder, and then they show me preschool, then kinder, then preschool, then no, then preschool, then no, then preschool, then kinder. Do you see what I'm saying? So as I'm moving my hand up and down the gesture meter, they're showing me the different levels of gestures. Give me some hearts out there if you think this might get them a little bit excited for gestures. So here we go. How often do I do this? I actually just started doing this today. So I'm sharing with you something I just did today. We've done the volumeometer. We've done show me right way, wrong way. We've done X power. We've done X power and lightning power. And this is just another tool. Our volumeometer is something we've used for a long time. I'm sure back in the old days we tied it in with gestures, but stick around long enough. If you're old like me, you forget stuff and then it comes back and you think, why did I stop doing this? I don't know if anyone else out there does that. So then and right way, wrong way makes it fun. Instead of scolding them and saying, why are you still doing it that way? You're practicing doing it the wrong way. And then when they come back and do the right way, they're that much sharper. So then from kindergarten, we move up to second grade. And I ask them, okay, well, what would second grade gestures be? Oh, that's going to be big gestures. So I'm going to try to do this. Let me see. And I saw how many times a day. I'll come right back to you. I'm going to try to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to try to do this with one hand here and then one hand here so you can kind of see the gestures. So I've got my hand on the no, and then here's the preschool. So then their little hands would be doing this. Then I'm going up to kinder, and down to preschool, then no. Then preschool, then kinder, then preschool, then kinder, then second grade, then kindergarten, then second grade, then kindergarten, then preschool, then no. Okay, guys, let me tell you, just adding that little bit in there and having them watch me move my hand up and down the gesture meter, I've got that many more people doing the gestures with me. And I saw someone out there that asked me how many times a day do I do this. I just have started out doing it where this is my class goal I'm giving them. Remember, they're coming up with their own personal goals, but I'm also giving them a goal. So the goal I was looking for today was gestures. So I'm referring to that gesture meter at the beginning of the day when we count our points. And remember, anytime you leave your classroom and the kids come back in, you recount your points, you re-say your rules, you go over your goals, and I reviewed the gesture meter then. I also used it throughout the day to set whatever gesture that I wanted. So for example, and then they had to watch me. I'll come back to that. Let me go to the last one, okay? So then over here, now we're at 4 grade levels higher, okay? And so this is going to be giant, huge size gestures. So if you can picture this, my hand, I'm talking them through each level. Now, I mind you guys, when you are talking them, yes, I love the meters too. They're so great. As I'm talking them through, I just start with these first 2, back and forth, back and forth. Then we add the next level because it's the build-up, guys. The build-up is what gets them. Don't give them everything at once. When you're introducing this, I'm going to start here and just go back and forth between these 2. And they just love the game part of watching you move your hand up and down. Okay, so now I've got the first 3, so I'm going from here to here to here, down to here, up to here, down here, back down here, up, down, up, down, up, down. And if you can picture what their gestures are doing while you're doing this, it's pretty amazing to watch. So then I'm moving up here, then back down here, then here, then maybe I'm way up here, then back down here, then up here, then down here, then down here. No, mine were not talking during the gestures. They were just doing the gestures with me. If you wanted them to be talking, you could. You could do a combination voice meter with your gesture meter if you wanted to. But basically, we're going up and down. And then what I did was, during the day, like for example, when we were doing our letters and sound song, I set the meter. So I might set it right here. And then they have to watch me. In the middle of the song, I change it and I bump it up here. And then all of a sudden, they're doing their letter song and they're doing the gestures for it, and they see me bump up the meter, all of a sudden they're doing it that much bigger. This was something that I did this year already with our X power and our lightning power, so it's the same. Instead, if you look over here, this is our X power is 2nd grade. This is our lightning power, which is right here. And then we have our preschool down here, but now we're even mapping it out and using it in a way that I can just adjust it using my hand. So anyway, guys, so that is our little trick for today. So first, for 5th graders, would you suggest similar gestures, guidelines for the meter? I absolutely would, and have them define it, because no matter what, 5th grade, it doesn't matter 5th grade, 11th grade, we're always working on 2 grade levels higher. So what we really want is the kids to show us, what do you think? So for a 5th grader, they're going to be trying to make gestures like a 7th grader would. And you might, which that could be dangerous. I'd be careful. Make sure that they're appropriate gestures. Start out with that, because we might not want those 7th grade gestures. But we're talking about appropriate gestures. I just thought of that. Only because I have middle schoolers in my home, and I could see that going very wrong. Yeah, I just thought of that. Appropriate gestures, please. And we will talk about appropriate gestures. Please don't make the gesture that a 7th grader would. What would they do it like? Like at what level? At what level as far as like how big they do? You could do sitting up tall. You could do as far as the gestures I've been focusing a lot on lately, which for kindergarten is, it's a little bit difficult, but we're working on it, is making them applicable. So, for example, in your vocabulary, you're going to pick gestures that are actually going to tie into the word. You're not just going to do random movements. So, and you could start this with your vocabulary lesson. If it's too hard for them just to do regular gestures moving up and down, give them a word they're acting out, and then move them on the gesture meter with whatever word they're working out. I show videos of 7th graders doing WBT. That's perfect too. And see, and they're not going to be doing inappropriate gestures if they're on that video. So that's probably a safe bet. But I would say, again, and you know what? If you guys are looking at videos, Andre Deshotel is great. We've got Jeff Battle. We've got Sarah Metter in middle school. We've got, who else do we have? I was going to say Giselle, but I don't think she's middle school. I think she's 3rd grade. So we've got a ton of middle school teachers out there. You can even show high school if you need to. So yeah, Andre's amazing. So, and all of them, I'm telling you, check out Sarah. And if you haven't followed Sarah on Periscope, at Sarah Metter, Sarah's amazing. Andre, I haven't seen him around here, but I know he checks in from time to time. I think he's been on Periscope a couple times, but he's got some great videos. We have Jeff Battle, who's got some great middle school videos. So you definitely want to check those out. And show the kids the level of the exactness of those 7th graders. Brainstorm, okay, what are they doing? Thank you so much. What are they doing that is looking like a 7th grader? And then have your kids help you define it. But here's the thing, their words might be a little different than mine. Mine are little, medium, big, and giant. With your 5th graders, they're probably going to come up with better vocabulary words than that to describe their gestures. So anyway, guys, as always, I feel like I kind of went a little too long out there, but I'm really glad you guys tuned in with me today. We're talking about participation, so I hope you guys can meet me again next week. Thank you guys so much. Andrea Schindler, Whole Brain Teaching, Whole Brain Teachers United. Hi there, my friend. Good to see you. So I'm so glad you guys came in today, and I hope to see you next week. Same time, same account, at WBTlittlerocket. Keep on trying. Caitlin, hang in there, my friend. You've got this. And you and I have to set up a battle of the scoreboard. So we will do that. See you next week. God bless you guys. Have a great week. And I hope to see you next week. All right. Bye, guys.